G'day, it's Prezzo here. Thanks for joining me in the workshop today. This is part 2 of a clock build that I'm working on. Now this is what I'm calling a Mixie clock. That's M-I-X-I-E, and it's sort of a bit of a mashup of steampunk, and it's also got some elements that you might find in one of the old style Mixie clocks that use the vacuum tubes. This one though uses a 7-segment LED display. It's Wi-Fi enabled, so it actually gets the time through an ESP8266 Wi-Fi microcontroller, and it goes to a time server and it collects the time from there and displays it on the screen. Now, in the last episode I got all of the wooden parts made for the frame, and what we're working on today is to make 3 castings for each clock. I'm making 2 clocks, so there'll be a base casting and these 2 end castings here. Let's have a quick look at the timber frame to see where we got to last time and what I've done in between. So the things that I worked on since the last video were to make a mounting point for the microcontroller. So it's just a block of wood that's glued in the bottom of the frame here, and that raises the USB port on the microcontroller to a point where you can get at it from the back of the clock. I've also fitted some fillets in the ends of the clock opening here. This is just to give it a little bit more strength and to stabilize the wood so this doesn't go out of round as much as the wood expands and contracts as it loses or gains moisture. So it might also protect it if I ever drop it, which is highly likely. And these are basically finished now apart from their protective coating on the outside, so I'm going to put these aside and not touch them for a while. But let me show you the patterns for the castings that we're doing today. Right, these are the patterns for the end castings that go on the wooden frame. And the purpose of these is to provide a mounting point so we can suspend that wooden carcass on a sort of a metal base. And these have been hand turned on the wood lathe from MDF. Now these are pretty straightforward. They're just single-sided patterns. They're flat on the back. And I won't bore you with the mold making process for these because that's fairly straightforward. We'll come back when I'm ready to pour these and take them out of the mold, but I don't think you need to see all of the process to get up to the point where we're ready to pour. Okay, this is going to be the most interesting one to do. Now this is the pattern for the base, and it has to be hollow. So you can see here that the back of the pattern is hollow. This is exactly how I want the finished casting to look. And this one here has been 3D printed in PLA filament, and it's been filled and painted. I know already there's going to be a lot of people watching this, experienced foundrymen, who are going to look at what I'm doing here, and they're going to be on the edge of their seat and they'll be saying, Mark, what have you learned? What are you doing? But I'm going to give it a go. So what I'm planning to do is to make a single mold which has its own core. So when we ram this up, we're going to put it into the drag first with this side down, and then when we ram up the cope, it's going to have sand going down into this depression here, and hopefully when we take the cope off, this lump of sand here won't fall off. Now I know that's a risk, but I'm willing to give it a go. If it's a total failure, we're going to have to make a core to create this depression on the other side there. But I've done something like this before and got away with it. Anyway, like I say, I'm a maverick. Let's give it a go. Just a quick look at one of the molds for these end castings. Already done the other one, and I just need to get these patterns out. Okay, made a mess around there. It shouldn't be a problem. There you go, same with that one. But that's alright, that's going to be machined away in there anyway, so I think we're good with that. So this is our runner. Gates were already formed, of course. Alright, so let's get the close up and get some metal in there. Thing's going to be short. That was a really dumb thing to do. This mould here is almost certainly going to be short. That one was fine. Couldn't believe how much metal that took. I guess that crucible was nearly 3/4 full, and I thought I had ample to do both of these. But I can just see where the metal's starting to come up from the feeder, so maybe we'll get lucky, but I'm guessing almost certainly going to have to do that one again. Come on, Mark. Normally I would leave these to cool down for much longer, but I suspect this one's going to be a fail. Yeah, doesn't look good, does it? It didn't quite fill to this outer edge. Yeah, that's not good. Here's the bad news. That's an absolute fail. That's way too small to fit on that timber frame there. Here's one that did work. So that was from the first mould, and it's well and truly oversized, which is what I wanted. Lost a bit of detail around here, but that's okay. I can machine all of that. These are way oversized anyway. And I'm going to clean all this up later on the metal lathe. So I've got two good ones. I'll do another mould for the failed ones, and then the furnace is already hot. But at the end of the day, I should have just put a bit more metal in the crucible and just waited the extra 10 minutes for it to melt. But oh, Mr. Impatient here. Yeah, so that's what happens. Alright, here we go, take two. Hallelujah. Alright, so this is the two end pieces that I had to recast. This was a mould I threw together right at the last minute. This is the base casting. Don't expect it to turn out real great. I just wanted to have a go at it as a dry run. If it's okay, yeah, we might keep it. But I had just enough metal for both those moulds there. Also, we got lucky with the second one. So, not the prettiest casting in the world, especially around here, and we got some broken areas around here, but I'm going to machine all of this. Some of these areas, like in these double curves here, they're probably going to stay as cast, but this flange here is going to be machined. It'll have some holes drilled in it for the screws that hold to the end of the timber frame. And this was meant to be a machining boss, so we can grab hold of it. This one's going to be a bit awkward, but I think we can make that work. The muller's still working well. I've got a plan to fix this sand sticking to this roller. You've probably seen Lucky Gen 1001's channel, and this is where I got the inspiration to build this muller. He got in touch with me and gave me a really good idea for basically making a non-stick coating for that roller. So still got to do that. I might have to adjust these ploughs a little bit, push the sand a bit closer to the centre of the drum. And I've got to make a better pulley for the main drum. It's just made of plywood at the moment. It slips occasionally. But other than that, this is still doing really well. Now, just want you to bear in mind, I threw this mould together right at the last minute. Totally didn't expect it to work, but I think it's actually turned out. There you go, look at that. Now, I know it broke away on this edge here, but that can still be salvaged. That's not a problem. But let's have a look at the other side, which is meant to be hollow. Didn't even ram this very hard, you know. It's in that much of a hurry. So there you go, look at that. Now it did break away on this inside corner here, I know that. And I may or may not keep this, I'm not sure yet. But overall, I'm really, really surprised that turned out. You know what, I'm going to keep this one. I can grind that little bit out of there with a die grinder or a Dremel or something like that. We can disguise that, that's fine. I'll make, will I make 2 more? Yeah, I'll make 2 more tomorrow, but I'll keep this one just in case. And I'll show you the process I used to mould this up. This was just an experiment. But yeah, look, just goes to show you, when you throw something together at the last minute, often it works and it surprises you. If I'd spent a long time with that and it failed, I'd be really cranky. But yeah, there you go. It worked. Here's a close-up of the one that I made yesterday, and must say, absolutely blown away that this worked. I've gone around, cleaned up the edges, just taken the flash off there. This was the area where the mould had broken away quite badly, but that cleans up quite easily. And on the inside, this was another area that had broken away, but I got a die grinder and a burr, went around and cleaned most of that up. I'm going to keep this one, but I think we can do better. I'll make 2 more moulds. We'll have a go at making 2 more of these castings. There's some imperfection here. This is just a consequence of the sand that I'm using, which is not good. But as you see later on, I'm going to powder coat this in a wrinkled black finish. And it has a texture all of its own, and it has a tendency to hide the porous nature of this finish that we're seeing here. So it's going to look like really vintage, really retro, and I think it's going to add to the look of the whole clock. Alright, this box that I got here is probably a little bit too small, but the next one up from this is much bigger. And I used this one yesterday and it seems to work out. So we're forming up most of this pattern in the drag, the bottom box, and the coat is going to have the green sand core. Now, this is not the only way to do this, but it's simple and it seemed to work yesterday. No guarantee of success though today. Now, I'm paying particular attention to the consistency of this sand. With a muller you can get pretty good mixing, but if you make the sand too wet, there's no going back. You've got to wait for it to dry it naturally, unless you can add some more dry sand to it. Because this is going to be the top, I want to have all of this sand riddled, which means getting rid of all lumps. Would dearly love to have Petrobond for doing this, but it's very hard to get where I live. Just got to be a bit careful here that I don't whack the pattern because it's only made of PLA. Alright, now this is the interesting part. What we have to be able to do is fill this cavity with sand and make sure that's really well compacted, and at the same time it has to bond to the layer of sand in the cope. So when you lift the cope off, this little segment of sand down in this depression doesn't just fall off and shear off at this level. So I've got plenty of draft in here. Yesterday some of the sand hung up just in this corner here, but like I say, I was in a hurry. Let's see if we can get a better result today. Just want to make sure that's well coated with parting powder there. So don't have a lot of room on this side here. I'm going to put the sprue to one side of where the gate is, and then later on we can cut a runner right across past the gate and continue on. And then I'm going to put my feeder right there on top of the gate. So it makes it a bit awkward. There's not a lot of room to get in and around those forms to be able to ram the sand. So I'm actually going to turn this around. I should get rid of that. Alright, this is the hard part, just being careful not to hit the pattern. Alright, we'll just continue to fill up as normal. Alright, so these should just come out with a bit of a twist. This is tapered, this riser feeder. Yeah, alright, it's a feeder. So offset pouring basin there. I just managed to make them look untidy. Alright, I'll clean it out with some air later. Alright, big deep breath. Now I have to be careful when I lift this because we've got that green sand core that goes down into that depression there, and I've got pins which guide the cope onto the drag, but if you lift it and twist it, it's going to break that little core off there, so I've got to be really careful actually. Yay! That's what you want to see. There's our core. That's turned out great. Now I'm going to very carefully put that aside. And we'll just tidy this up. Alrighty, so we're going to cut our runner right past the gate. A bit like that. Alright, we'll get our pattern out. You sort of tell by the sound. It sounds a bit hollow when you've actually got the pattern loose. Or not. Come on, baby. There it goes. Tiniest little bit. Oh, it's going to break away. Alright, never mind. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. There's just a tiniest little bit broken away there, but everything else looks perfect. So happy with that. Alright, I hope you can see how much sand we've got hanging off this face here, so I've got to be really careful putting this back too. If I bump that and it cracks off, may not know about it. Alrighty, let's do a trial close here. See, a little bit of sand broke off there. Okay, I think that one's good to go. It's a small casting, I don't think it needs venting. I'll get this one over it near the foundry now, and I'll do one more and then we'll pour them. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, this is the second lot of moulds that I've done today. The first ones that I did, the moulds were absolutely perfect. Couldn't be happier. I turned them out into the muller, and you wouldn't believe it, but it didn't run all the way around the pattern or the mould. Take a look for yourself. No! Oh no! Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Suck it up, Mark, do it again. So it's fair to say I was a bit upset and I've gone ahead and made 2 more moulds. Now you wouldn't believe it, this one I did 6 times. Every time I lifted off the coat, either a part of the green sand core broke away or the pattern lifted out with the coat. And no matter what I did, it just kept happening. I remolded the sand, I checked the moisture content, I changed the way I was ramming up the green sand core, tried everything, and the worse it got, the more cranky I got, and in the end I just walked away and I had a break. So let's see if this one's turned out. Alright, well that looks better, but I know there's a defect with this one, and it's around the side you can't see. Let me get it out. But let me show you the defect. There it is there. And that happened twice on the other mold as well. And once again, I don't know why, it was always on the same side. Something to do with the way I was ramming the sand, I guess. Could have been the way I was lifting off the cope as well. But that I can repair, that's not a problem. But if this is a short pour and it doesn't go all the way around, well, you've got no choice but to start again. All right, let me get the other one out and then we'll have a close look. Now, if this one hasn't worked, I've at least got the one I made yesterday. See what I mean? Anyway, I've got two. Alrighty, well here's the wrap up. What can I say? I've had a chance to rest and recuperate. That day in the foundry was absolutely appalling. It was really super hot and humid, and I'm wandering around in boots and a pair of overalls slaving over a hot furnace. It wasn't very pleasant. And it made it worse that I had problems with these two castings here, and the harder I tried, the worse it got, and I just got really frustrated. So what's the analysis? What's the wrap up here? Now, this is the one that I did the day before, where I didn't really try very hard. I put this mold together very quickly, and I was super surprised at how well that turned out. Now, I did have that bit of a fail on the inside there, but I've cleaned that up. This is going to be a usable casting that will make one of the clocks. Now, the other two, where I tried really hard to get good molds, for various reasons I had a number of failures. So on both of them I got this same area breaking away on that end there, but I can fix that. That'll machine away and file away okay. The inside of these did actually work out much better. The green sand core came away pretty well, and the exterior surface finish, apart from that defect there, is not bad. But what about this? Now, various people have suggested what I did wrong. I'll tell you what I did try to do. I actually vented this mold. So I put a vent wire through at all four corners here, and even then the metal didn't run all the way around. So either the metal was too cold, or I compacted the sand so hard that I made it non-porous and the air couldn't escape, and it just slowed up metal running around here. Now, I could use this. I can fill that, or I can TIG weld it, but I've got two castings that I think are going to be okay, so I'll use them. I can use this one to try out one of the machining operations that I need to do before I attack these two here. Alright, what about these? Well, I've got four castings that I can use. Not all of them have, or not all of them have defects. This one has. It's sort of got broken areas here, but once again, I can fix that. That machines away okay. This is really like a turning blank, and I know for a fact that I can clean these up. That's fine. I'm going to show you like a sneak preview of what this looks like on the finished clock, and then we'll wind up today's episode. Alright, well there's that casting completely finished now. It's been machined on the edge, bring it to diameter. The flat surface here, the mounting surface, has been machined, and it's got 8 holes drilled in that to take wood screws to attach this to the timber frame of the clock. And the center boss has been drilled and tapped, and that will take a screw which will attach it to the rest of the support frame. Now this section of the casting here has just been sanded smooth, but I've left that cast finish in it. And a lot of people have said, why aluminium, why not copper or brass, which are traditionally what we associate with steampunk. But I'm going to try a new type of powder coat finish. It's like a two-part finish, and it's going to make it look like brass, but it won't oxidize, which I think is a positive for this design. And one viewer suggested that this looks a bit like some part of the female anatomy. I'm not so sure, can't quite put my finger on it, but there you go. I do like that retro curvy look though. I think that sort of works well with this design. However, that's all for today's episode. I'm going to invite you to come back next time and see all of the machining processes on the castings. I'll do the other two of these. I've done two, haven't done the base castings yet, but we'll catch you up with that in the next episode. So please join me for that. I hope you enjoyed watching along today, and I'll catch you on the next episode. So it's Prezzo signing out for now. See you later.